It began with a woman who suddenly went silent, a family who refused to stop searching, and a disappearance that would expose the darkest truth a marriage can hide. In rural Michigan, where cornfields stretch for miles and neighbors know each other by name, 52-year-old Dee Ann Warner vanished without a trace. For 3 long years, her family begged for answers. They pushed authorities to take action and fought a battle that felt stacked against them from the beginning. And in the end, the truth was waiting in a place no one wanted to imagine. This is the story of Dee Ann Warner. Dee wasn't just a mother or a businesswoman. She was the steady center of her family, the kind of person everyone depended on. People knew her as someone who carried heavy responsibilities without ever showing the weight of them. She ran a successful agricultural company, which meant long days, constant planning, and the pressure of making sure her employees and clients were always taken care of. Even with all that work, she still managed her family's finances, kept the household running smoothly, and supported everyone around her with the same quiet reliability she was known for. Her friends often said she had a tough exterior, but a heart that never turned away from anyone who needed help. Her siblings remembered her as fiercely loyal, the person who stepped in during every crisis and held the family together even during difficult moments. And to her daughter, Rickle Bach, she was more than a parent. She was a source of comfort, stability, and unconditional love. In many ways, Dee Ann was the type of woman who made life feel safer, simply by being present. But for all the strength she showed the world, her private life was becoming increasingly difficult. Dee Ann's marriage to Dale Warner had once looked solid from the outside, but behind closed doors, things were very different. Dale was known around the community, but opinions about him depended on who you talked to. Some described him as hardworking, while others said he could be controlling, short-tempered, and also difficult to communicate with. Over time, the tension inside their home grew stronger, and it became harder for Dee Ann to hide what she was going through as arguments about money happened often, and disagreements about the business added even more pressure. Friends later said they noticed a change in her. She looked tired in a way she never had before. She confided in people she trusted, telling them she no longer felt safe in her own home and that her marriage had shifted from a partnership to something that felt heavy and stressful. The more she opened up, the more her loved ones realized how serious things had become. In the days leading up to her disappearance, she confided in close friends that she was finally ready to create distance, emotionally, financially, and possibly physically. She wanted to regain control of her life and make choices that protected her future. Those who heard her speak now remember those conversations she complained about because none of them expected that they would be the last ones she ever had. On the morning of April 25th, 2021, everything changed. Dee Ann was last seen at her home in Franklin Township, Michigan, and according to her husband, she woke up early and simply walked away from the property without taking anything with her. Dale claimed she left on her own, a decision he presented with surprising calmness. But nothing about that explanation made sense. She didn't take her purse, which she needed for work and daily responsibilities. Her phone showed no activity, not even a message or a call. She didn't use any vehicles, and there was no evidence that she met someone or planned to go anywhere. For someone so organized and responsible, the idea of her disappearing without preparation was impossible to believe. Her family reacted immediately. They knew Dee Ann's patterns, her habits, and how she handled stress. She was reliable in every way, and vanishing without a trace was something she would never do. When her relatives arrived at the home to look for clues, an unsettling feeling washed over them. They noticed that items inside the house appeared freshly moved or cleaned, as if someone had tried to erase signs of an altercation or hurried activity. They saw vehicles positioned differently from the day before, which raised more suspicion. Even Dale's behavior felt strangely calm, almost detached from the urgency of the situation. Family members later said that instead of panic or worry, he seemed collected and even more relaxed, which only deepened their concern. Yet when the law enforcement arrived, they classified the situation as a standard missing person case, as there were no immediate signs of violence, no forced entry, and no physical evidence that pointed directly to a foul play. which made the authorities believe she might have left voluntarily or needed space, despite her family insisting that was entirely out of character. But Dee Ann's family refused to accept that explanation. They knew something was wrong because they know the kind of person she is, and they were prepared to dig for the truth themselves. From the moment Dee Ann's family realized she was missing, they launched an effort that never stopped. Her siblings, close friends, and a team of private investigators searched every inch of land they could reach. They combed through riverbanks, thick brush, drainage ditches, abandoned structures, and agricultural fields. They spoke to workers on nearby farms, questioned neighbors, and reviewed old messages and documents for anything that could offer clues. But every direction the search team turned brought them back to the same painful conclusion that nothing indicated that Dee Ann had ever left the property alive. As days turned into weeks, and those weeks slowly stretched into years, the emotional toll on her family grew heavier. Police resources eventually thinned, leads stopped coming in, and the official investigation stalled. But her family refused to let her case fade into silence. They organized community vigils to keep her name alive, launched awareness campaigns, and built online groups where supporters shared theories, information, and anything that could help. They continued to pressure state authorities, hired private experts, and demanded deeper, more thorough searches. Through it all, they never let up. Even as their hope grew thin, their determination never did. However, in August 17th, 2024, after 3 long years of searching and constant pressure from Dee Ann's family and private investigators, authorities finally received new information that changed the direction of the entire case. This new lead pointed straight back to the Dale Warner's Paragon Road property, specifically to areas that some investigators believed should have been searched thoroughly from the very beginning. So the team returned, but this time with everything they needed: cadaver dogs, excavation machines, forensic specialists, and crime scene analysts. They went over barns, fields, and storage areas, but one location kept drawing their attention, which is a row of large resealed anhydrous tanks. These tanks were used to store different materials, but they were big, sealed, and rarely checked, making them the perfect place for someone to hide something they never wanted found. When investigators opened one of the tanks and started clearing the layers of debris inside, they discovered human remains concealed deep within it. DNA testing later confirmed the truth the family already felt in their hearts. It was Dee Ann. In that moment, 3 years of confusion, heartbreak, and unanswered questions collapsed into one devastating reality: that she had been on that property the entire time, hidden in a place she never should have ended up, on the land she once worked and lived on. With the discovery of her remains, authorities moved fast. Dale Warner was arrested and charged with open murder in November 2023. According to Dee Ann's daughter, Rickle Bach, who testified that Dee Ann has been in an extremely toxic relationship with her husband, and Dale allegedly stalked her, put a tracking device on her car, and committed domestic violence. The community, which had been divided and unsure of what to believe, finally saw the truth coming into focus. Investigators described the crime as calculated and deliberate, the work of someone who expected the truth to stay hidden indefinitely. But what Dale never anticipated was the unbreakable determination of Dee Ann's family. The recovery of her remains brought a mix of emotions for everyone who loved her. Her siblings said it felt like a moment of painful clarity, relief that they could finally bring her home, but overwhelming heartbreak knowing her life ended in a place she once considered safe. Her daughter's words echoed across the community when she said she can finally say goodbye. The community rallied around the family in the days that followed. They held vigils, created memorial spaces, and organized events to honor her life and the strength she showed in everything she did. People spoke about her kindness, her relentless work ethic, and the way her laughter could brighten any room. But most of all, they talked about her family, a family who persistently kept this case alive even when so many others might have let it slip away. Without their determination, the truth may have remained buried forever. Dee Ann Warner was not just a missing person case. She was a mother, a sister, a friend, and a woman whose life mattered far beyond the silence that followed her disappearance. Her story is a reminder that even when the truth is buried deep, love and persistence can bring it back to the surface. If this case touched you, share your thoughts below and hit like and subscribe so you never miss a story we pull out of the shadows. Together, we make sure that Dee Ann's name and her fight for justice are never forgotten. Thanks for watching.